Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to members, officers, the press and public joining the local development committee tonight. The meeting is being live streamed on YouTube, so welcome to everyone viewing online. To minimize, thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to members, the press and public joining the local committee.
Apologies, Chair.
Shall I continue? Thank you very much. To minimize travel, most officers are joining this evening's meeting via Zoom, and everyone present here online. You have me online, did you indicate? No. Yeah, okay, good. My name is Councillor James Beckles. I'm the chair of this committee. For the members in the room, when you are speaking, can you please speak clearly and loudly so that the microphone can pick up what you're saying. For those joining by Zoom, please mute your microphone if you are not speaking. I will now ask the members of the committee and the officers to introduce themselves. I'll start on my left. Sarah.
Good evening, Councillor Sarah Rose, Customer Board.
I'm Heather Richardson. Good evening, Councillor
Mohammed Rahim from Bollywood.
Good evening, Councillor Wednesday, please. Good evening, I'm Smitha Knight, it's Obama.
Minister saying Democratic Services.
I'm Shelley Fortune,
Those members, sorry, officers online, please introduce yourselves.
I'm Jane Custance, the Director of Planning and Development. We seem to have lost the picture of the room. Handing over to Alex.
Thanks, Jane. Alex O'Dwyer, solicitor. The picture's back.
Okay, great. Holly, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Holly Harrison and I'm a senior planner.
Janique?
Yep, I'm Janique James and I am an LBN planner.
And Adam?
Adam Williams, the planning agent for the St Matthew's Court application.
Shirley, I don't know whether Adam needs to go back in the waiting room until his item comes up. Shirley, I think maybe because you're muted, we can't hear what's going on in the room.
Apologies, I'm so sorry. I'm not used to doing it from this area. Apologies for my absence from councillors Tony Wilson, Pushpar Matwana, Celine Patel, and Councillor Kamani.
Okay, thank you very much. So the first item will be to review the minutes of the last meeting on the 24th of July 2023. These are found on pages 30 to 20.
So it wasn't.
I'm sorry, the meeting where
A few meetings
ago. My apologies. So please review those, and if you are happy.
Yeah, my name is Mohammed Rahim.
That was on the 24th of July?
Yeah.
Okay. Councillor Ghani's name. Are members present? I was at that meeting. Present. Do members agree? Do show of hands. Thank you very much. The minutes are agreed. So declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest for any of the items that will be read tonight? No, so item 4, determining planning applications. Members are asked to note the advice of the head of legal services on determining planning applications. Is that noted?
Okay.
Thank you very much. Announcement from the chair. Management business, item 9. Garage 1 to 43, opposite 16 and 226 New City Road, Glasgow. We have a request from officers to defer this application to facilitate further assessment of committee notification to potentially interested parties. Is that agreed? Agreed. That's unanimous. Thank you very much. And the request to address the committee. The committee has received the following request to address the committee, with the speakers being identified themselves when I call out for their names. So item 6 on Downs, we've got Amy Larson. Thank you very much. And Philippa.
Actually, it's going to be David Mann.
So David will take your place. Okay. And in attendance, but David and Simon.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So item 7, St. Matthew's Court. We've got Val Bagnell. Yep. Yeah, thank you very much. And we have Adam Cornish. Here, Adam Williams, I believe you're online, and Charles Moran. Here it is. Yeah, item 8, land at 67 to 113 Folkestone Road. We've got Val again. Yeah, thank you. And we agree the remainder of the order of business as outlined in the agenda. Yeah. Thank you. I've got officer update report. Members, please note the officer update report that was circulated. And thank you very much. Can I call the presenting officer to present item 7, please? 6. 20 down. My apologies. 20 down to 26.
Yeah. Apologies.
Chat online. The microphone ready to work.
Yeah, it should be picking if you are.
Yeah, we can see it and hear it online.
Great, thank you.
I do speak up.
Yeah. So moving on to item 6, this application is located at Bonnie Down Baptist Church, Darwell Close, East Town. Please refer to both the agenda report and the update report. The application has been made on behalf of the London Baptist Property Board Limited. The existing building, which currently used as a community pub and hosts community meals, winter night showering, skills courses, and the beach food bank. A planning application has been submitted seeking planning permission for the demolition of the existing building and construction of a 3-storey building to provide a community hall comprising of use class F2B, chapel use class F1F, and ancillary spaces at ground floor level, along with 10 residential units comprising of 8 studio flats, 1 one-bedroom flat, and 1 2-bedroom flat. Scheme being developed as a community-led housing scheme, which is supported by Community-Led Housing London and Marathon. The site is located on a corner plot at the intersection of Darwell Place and Flanders Road. To the rear of the site is a block of flats known as 6074 Tun Road. The site has a P-Power rating of 2. This is approximately a 23-minute walk from East Ham Underground Station and a 6-minute walk from the nearest bus stop at East Ham Central Park. The site is not allocated within the local plan, it's located within floodplain 2. And moving on to site photographs, this site depicts the main entrance on Darwell Place, the existing building. This photograph depicts the side elevations of the existing building. Moving on to proposed elevation, this is the Flanders Road elevation. This is the Darwell Place elevation. This is the south elevation. And this is the east elevation. Moving on to floor plan, this slide shows the floor plan of the ground and first floor of the proposed building. And this slide shows the second floor of the proposed building. These are all in the appendices of the committee reports. In terms of principal development, scheme effectively comprises of 3 elements: community use on the ground floor, specialist accommodation on the first and second floors, and conventional C3A housing on the second floor as well. In relation to the community use, the applicant has clearly demonstrated how the ground floor community use element complies with the exception criteria of policy INF8. The scheme would accord with the strategic principles of co-locating and enhancing community facilities in a mixed-use format. A night shelter and food bank already run from the site. The Bonnie Downs Community Association also run a range of community facilities, including the Well Community Centre, Lambeth Playing Field, and another community centre associated with the playing fields. The applicant has demonstrated that they have a strong user base within the local community, setting out that 88% of their church members are new residents, most of whom live within walking distance of the church. The applicant has also submitted evidence which plots the addresses of residents who use the Bonnie Downs Community Association facility, which demonstrates that over 90% of those users live in Newham. Finally, the applicant has submitted a list of residents who access the community support services that currently run from Bonnie Downs Church Hall, such as the food bank, food club, Deathify, night shelter, which clearly demonstrates that 97% of users are Newham residents. The application is therefore supported with regards to the principle of community use. The proposal also incorporates HGVA units for temporary supported housing, defined as accommodation for people moving on from homelessness with low-level needs, who will rent the units for a fixed period of a maximum of 2 years, depending on their needs of advocacy work and providing support. The application has been accompanied by a draft management plan setting out how specialist accommodation services can be managed. The Assistant Director of Commissioning, Adult and Health at Newham has been consulted on the application, in addition to the content of the management plan, and has confirmed to supported proposal. The provision of 2 new residential units on the site, in addition to the studio flat, will be supported in principle, as the applicant has clearly demonstrated through their management plan how the development works in practice without conflict between site users. A facilities management plan incorporating details of the operational arrangements of the facility and associated accommodation, along with precautions related to safeguarding, potential impacts, etc., will be secured by condition. The facilities management plan will also include a plan for how large-scale events are managed within the community support. As outlined on the slide and the committee report, the principle of the proposed development is supported from principle at all levels of planning policy. In terms of quality of accommodation, as detailed earlier, the scheme comprises of 2 units for sale on the open market and 8 studio units for London affordable rent. The affordable rent elements will be secured as part of the facility management plan, which is conditioned. Given the unique nature of the studio studio unit, the studios will not be directly applicable to any defined housing standards. However, the units do bear relevance to the guidance available for HMO standards. The proposed studio units will have a GIA of between 27 to 30 square metres, which exceeds all recommended safe standards for specialist accommodation. The proposal will also deliver a 42 square metre open plan lounge, dining and kitchen area, in addition to communal laundry facilities. The units would also benefit from a roof terrace and excellent connectivity with Flanders Field and the community garden opposite the site. The conventional class C3A accommodation will meet all of the relevant London Plan space standards, with the exception of the 2-bedroom unit being 0.4 square metres short in providing built-in storage. As such, the provision of built-in storage will be secured by condition. The units will also provide the required external amenity space and daylight and sunlight requirements. Therefore, the application is supported with regards to the quality of accommodation as it meets the relevant standards for the type of accommodation. In terms of urban design, the applicant has engaged positively during the pre-application process and during the determination process. Revised drawings have been requested and received to respond to offer comments during the determination period. The proposed design of the building is sought to replicate the local vernacular of houses, pitched roofs, which line the adjacent streets. The building would consist of part 1 story and part 2 story. The part 1 story would benefit from a roof terrace, which would be sunken and screened by boundary walls. The design is in keeping with the local street theme while providing some contemporary and innovative features such as the mentioned sunken terrace. The proposed design, layout and external appearance of the development is acceptable and would enhance the character and appearance of the street theme. Conditions are recommended to secure the materials that would be used for the external surfaces of the proposed hard and soft landscaping and cycle parking to ensure high quality of development is delivered. The proposed development impact on the daylight and sunlight levels of neighbouring properties has been assessed via a daylight and sunlight report, which details that the proposal would not adversely affect the windows of neighbouring properties and that they would comply with the requirements of DRE guidance. In terms of loss of privacy, there is potential for there to be a certain level of overlooking from the roof terrace and balconies. However, due to the parapet and privacy screen, which will be secured by a condition, the overlooking would not be considered unacceptable. The scheme has been sensitively designed to break up the bulk and massing of the building while setting buildings back away from neighbouring receptors, therefore removing obstruction of outlet and sense of overbearing is considered not to be detrimental to the immunity of the neighbouring property to an unacceptable degree. In order to ensure there are no adverse noise impacts arising from the proposed development, conditions relating to noise are proposed to be attached to any planning condition. Turning to sustainable transport, the car-free nature aligns with planning policy, and as such, transport officers requested the applicant enter into the Section 106 agreement to inhibit residential occupants from applying for and obtaining parking permits. The proposed plans and design and access statements do contradict each other in terms of cycle space provision, and as such, it is necessary to attach a condition to any planning permission requiring full detail of secure, accessible and weatherproof cycle storage facilities to provide the minimum 12 cycle space required by the London Plan. The application also includes highway improvement works, which will be secured by Section 278 agreement. A condition requiring the demolition of the construction management plan shall be attached to any condition to minimise impact on the highway and to neighbouring properties during the demolition and construction phase. With respect to all of the above matters, the proposed development is considered acceptable, subject to the conditions recommended on pages 83 to 87 of the committee report. I think that's wrong, I think it should be 44 to 47. In terms of summary of the assessment, the proposed development at Bonnie Downs Church is of a sufficiently high architectural standard and will provide improved community facility, 8 studio units, which will provide tenants with 43 flats living in a community, a 1-bedroom flat and a 2-bedroom flat. Subject to the imposition of and adherence to the recommended conditions and planning obligations, the application is considered acceptable in relation to adopted planning policies, including the National Planning Framework, the London Plan and the London Borough New Local Plan. In summary, it is recommended that the local development committee grant planning permission based on the conditions listed in Appendix 9 and the head of term to be secured by legal agreement listed in Appendix 10. Obviously, there have been some amendments to the conditions that are in the committee report. And I will bring up the recommendation now, which is to ask the committee to resolve to agree the reasons for approval as set out in the committee report and update report and delegate authority to the Director of Planning and Development to grant permission.
Thank you very much, Sophie. Moving on to the applicants. David and in. Simon, okay, if you both come slightly closer to the microphone, and how long do they have? So, I think we tell 3 minutes to 3 minutes, okay, do you want to share that between yourselves? Well, who's going to be the nominated speaker?
I'll start off, and I just want to say thank you to members for this opportunity to present our application. And I also want to say thank you to the officers, both from the planning and housing department, who have helped us to refine and improve our application. And to be honest, I don't really need to say much more because Anna said most of the things that I would have said. I think it's nice to have inclusion is our #1 priority of value, and this time next week, our Muslim brothers and sisters will be planning their celebration for Ramadan and private prayers in our church building. And one of the things that we're very keen on is that our guests who move on from homeless find a purpose and sense of belonging. And the Geo Park is designed to accommodate for around 2 years, not necessarily the maximum, because some people sometimes need to be flexible with. But what we want to do is to move them on into houses within our community, but for them to have a place to come back to that enables them then to move on beyond the support that they get within the building. The other thing I'd like to say very briefly is that we want this building to be the front room for the whole community. So not just the guests will have their own independent living space, but we want it to be a place where everybody is welcome so that we can be building bridges and breaking down barriers. Our current building is packed, it's beaten to death really. It was built 90 years ago, it's not fit for purpose anymore. We want to give future generations a building that can bring the whole community together and continue to serve those that are most marginalised. So that's the aim. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Simon, got a minute?
I'm not quite sure what I can add to that. Very deep building. Very clear understanding of what the building's there for. I mean, I suppose I'm an architect. I've been in practice for 36 years. I've done a range of cultural buildings, mixed-use buildings, health buildings, education buildings. And I suppose this project is very special to us because it's the first time that we've been given the opportunity to do a community building that is designed to be absolutely in the heart of the community in every sense of the word. And this, what Bonnie Downs has done, I think, is given this perfect opportunity for us to make a building that does all the first things. It's a group of 4 3-story townhouses put a group together, and they act together as a team. The ground floor provides an assembly space, a place for assembly, activity, and worship, and supported by a community kitchen that can provide community needs, but also has a very important contribution to offering food banks. On the other floors, we have 8 studio flats that provide a home for people who find it very, very difficult. And there's also a couple of asks some final comments. Give you final comments. Final comments. Yes. It also has, as I think being explained, the community facilities of a living room, a dining room, and a kitchen. So people who would have the opportunity to live independently in a studio flat also have a very important opportunity to come together and be part of the Bonnie Downs family.
Thank you very much. Very well surmised. Now we move on to questions from the committee. Members who would like to begin.
Yeah, 2 questions and then a comment. I note on page 41 that there's no provision for any blue badge parking spaces, and I just wondered whether you might reconsider or whether there is actual blue badge parking on the road at any point.
Don't think there is, not that I can remember initially. I mean, the likelihood of any of the residents having cars is minimal.
Okay.
Yeah, and on the whole, people drop off and they don't need that blue-based parking.
That's fine. I was just thinking well, it might be helpful, but, and the other question I had, oh yeah, well, it isn't a question, to be honest. It was really nice to see the positive comments that you have drawn from the residents around. We often get like objections, but it's very rare that we see such positive comments, so thank you for that. And the other thing is, and I don't know whether I should have declared movies, but I've known of Bonnie Downs for many, many years. And I was absolutely delighted to see this application. Not just for the community facilities, but actually the thought for the single flats and the supported housing. So, which is really welcome, and I'm sure that our adult health and social care team has probably been really helpful with this. So well done, because I think it's a great project. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Wilson. Any questions?
This project obviously caters to the very needs of housing in the community, and this idea is the overwhelming support. But I was wondering, the 2 units, 1 bed and 2 bed, I mean, obviously up for for sale. What would be the logic behind the sale of the property? Because it is subject to the popular place, and obviously this helping number of homeless people for up to 3 years. So I mean, it's a bit of, for me, I mean, it seems a bit odd that while for homeless people and there are people who are for sale, and whether or not that benefits the local community much more right away, it is an intermediary accommodation for homeless people.
That's a very, very pertinent comment, thank you. There are 2 answers to that. First is economic, in that we need the capital from the sales of those flats in order to make the scheme work, not economically. But more than that, actually, they will be anchor tenants, and they will. The aim is that actually we will purchase those as a church, and then we will place people who will be anchor tenants who will look after and support the guests in the studio flats and create that sense of belonging. So it will be people who will be able to add that the sense of community and to enhance the support. So economically, we need to get capital up front in order to make the scheme work. But actually, it means also we can pick and choose people who are going to nurture community rather than cause divisions.
Yeah, so that's very answer. Any questions? I have a question regarding the design of the property. It's the local areas, it's very residential for the Victorian, and we try to keep it in line with what's local.
Yes, I think I don't think it's mentioned in the planning report. We did a series of affordable houses in Darwell and those which are further down, which are pitched room brick, 3-bedroom family houses. And so we spent, when we were doing that project, we spent quite a lot of time just looking at what the local vernacular was and how that sort of is worked over a period of time, because there are many different materials on that existing, I think. And so we decided to use brick as a sort of standard robust material that does have a relationship with what's there, but equally that establishes its own sort of vernacular identity that relates to the houses that we would already built further down the street.
Any questions from the members? I really can't come in. You ask a question.
It's not a place to go.
Okay.
I think I heard you say something about food bank. That you do food bank. Is that going to continue or it's going to stop now?
I wish it would stop. I wish it would stop tomorrow because I wish there wasn't a need for a food bank. We've transitioned from just providing food banks to having a food club, a supermarket where people pay £5 and they get £25 for food. So the idea is, as long as there are people and children that are going hungry, and then we'll provide services, either a food bank or a food club. Please God, the political climate will change, and there will be an investment in those families, so that we won't need them anymore. But we are designed, whether or not we need to give away food, having people around the table is a great way of building community. So we always want to have food and eating, bringing people together. So that's having the kitchen will be a very important element, whether or not we need food bank.
Thank you. A lovely question. It might be both to officers about the demolition and construction management plan. Confined space, there's lots of residential buildings around. How are you planning to, I guess, control dust, noise, litigation to local residents, and then you're speaking for disturbance? Would like to answer?
The demolition and construction management plan condition attached to any commission. I've not actually got the report in front of me, so I can't do the full breakdown, but I think it's in your reports.
Yeah, page
it should be from appendix 9 towards the end, 5 probably. So that will be the full breakdown of what would be required by the condition, and then a duct and stock minimization condition, I think, towards the end. But I think
I think there's 20 as well. So the usually with the construction and demolition management plan, it'll be like at the point where you've kind of got contractors on board who will be in charge of obviously having to undertake the development in accordance with our expectations. They'd probably be best placed to develop the necessary management plan to put forward to council for scrutiny and approval, and then that gets scrutinised by environmental health, by transport and fire services. Sometimes there's a bit of back and forth in terms of scrutiny and the level of detail required, but yeah, we're pretty robust in assessing the appropriateness of the
I think the other thing to remember is the existing building is a fairly lightweight.
Yeah, very quick.
And it shouldn't create too much stress. The site will be fully ordered. We've got an extra large pavement on the north side, so there's a bit of wriggle room as well, which I'm sure we should be able to incorporate. So I think it's not as if it's a 5-story sort of concrete box. So I think it should be relatively straightforward. And what we're putting back is the truth with it. So in terms of its scale, scaffolding, it should be pretty well something.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions from the committee?
Now, in follow-up to what you just asked, do we think about any traffic might build up over the time of demolition and building? And what are the provisions for that?
That's factored into the demolition and construction management plan scrutiny. So that would be like in terms of like traffic control, in terms of demolition and construction related vehicles, loading, offloading, deliveries, routes to and from the site. All of that information will need to be provided through transportation of those officers. We will scrutinise that whether or not the proposals are appropriate. So that will be covered by the recommended conditions to like mitigate the impacts against
Well, and similarly, when we did the 3 houses of the Donald Close, that's about the same volume of construction. In fact, probably more, and that only had 1 access into it. Whereas this site, obviously, it's got a much bigger road, and it's got 2 ways of getting in on the site. So the amount of vehicle movements and the ease of them getting in and out of the site should be more straightforward than it was building the 3 houses.
Satisfied with the last response. Are there any further questions? Okay, thank you very much. Can you see the recommendations again? Screen.
You might need the condition.
Minimize the answering, thank you very much. So, committee, the local development committee is after resolved to agree the reasons for approval, set out the committee report and update. And delegate authority to the director of planning and development to grant planning permission subject to completion of the legal plan section 6. And further details on the screen. All those in favour, please show of hands. That is unanimous for those who can vote in the room. So that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Let's move now to item 7.
I'll just share my screen now, but can I just check if you can hear me okay?
3 Vicarage Lane. Yeah, that's fine. So that's yeah.
Can I just check if that's shared okay?
Yes, it's showing.
Okay.
Just need to put it on presenter mode.
Yeah, that's fine. Are we ready to proceed or?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get started. Good evening, members. I'll be presenting item 7, which is the full planning application at St Matthew's Court at 3 Vicarage Lane in Stratford. The application site is on the east side of Vicarage Lane in Stratford. The site comprises a 4-storey building with an undercroft level, which is currently boarded up, and 12 3-bedroom flats on the 3 stories above. The site also includes grassed areas and a car park to the rear. The site is bounded by Flint Close and a 5-storey block of flats known as Quadrangle House to the north, a 6-storey block of flats known as Ammonite House, which is located immediately to the east, and 2-storey terraces along Vicarage Lane are located to the south. The site is in a predominantly residential area, but it's close to Newham College's Stratford campus and a range of shops and local services along Vicarage Lane. The University Conservation Area is to the north of the site, but the site itself is not part of it. The access to the site is along Vicarage Lane for vehicles and pedestrians. And the communal entrances for the existing flats are on the rear elevation of the building, as shown by these photos. So the application is for full planning permission for the proposed erection of a 2-storey roof extension, a Part 5, Part 6 6-storey side extension, and a new stair core to provide an additional 18 residential dwellings, together with external alterations to the existing building, including brick overcladding and replacement of existing windows, along with the provision of associated car and cycle parking spaces, refuse storage facilities, and hard and soft landscaping works. The plan currently on the screen shows the general arrangement of the site, including the building envelope, landscaping scheme, and the car park. So this is a proposed plan. And this is an illustrative site plan which shows the external amenity spaces again, along with the roof plan. This is a visualization of the building when viewed from Vicarage Lane. And this shows you a part of the proposed front elevation, as well as details of materials and external finishes. And these are examples of some of the internal layouts. And these are either 2 beds or 1 bed. So the proposal is for residential redevelopment of the site, including the retention of 12 existing flats, which are all 3-bedroom, and an additional 18 dwellings through the proposed extensions. Along with the construction of the new dwellings, the proposal includes works to the existing building that will improve the quality of the 12 existing flats. Both the London plan and local plan outline the need for more homes, and the redevelopment of the site will positively contribute to the borough's housing stock, noting the demand for the increased housing. The new dwellings will be 100% affordable and will help address the council's housing waiting list. The principle of providing new affordable housing and improving the quality of the existing flats is therefore supported. In terms of housing offer, the proposal will provide 5 new 1-bed units and 13 new 2-bed units. The existing 3-bed units will be retained and no new 3-bed units will be provided. The existing 3-bedroom units are undersized when assessed against the up-to-date space standards. Therefore, officers queried why new no 3-bedroom units that meet the current space standards could be provided in the scheme. The committee report outlines the additional information we received from the applicant during the course of the application about the lack of new 3-bedroom dwellings. Officers have also undertaken our own assessment in this respect, and given the way the new units in the extension and the new build elements need to be stacked, it would not be possible to provide new 3-bed units that meet current space standards and are provided with private amenity space. It would also not be possible to extend the building beyond its existing envelope, and if the new build additions were any larger, it's likely there would be detrimental design and neighbouring amenity impacts. Further to this, all new dwellings will be provided at 100% London affordable rent levels, intended for households on the council's waiting list. And given the council's demand for these homes, the affordable housing provision is considered acceptable and will be secured by legal agreement. The lack of any new 3-bedroom units in this instance is justified, given the public benefit of providing 100% affordable homes, which exceed the policy expectation of up to 50%, and noting the site-specific constraints. In terms of the quality of accommodation, all new dwellings will meet current space standards and will be provided with private amenity space, will be at least dual aspect, have satisfactory ceiling heights and efficient internal layouts. 2 new M4-3 units and 16 new M4-2 units will be provided across the new dwellings. And given the site constraints mentioned, it's not been possible to refurbish the layouts of the existing dwellings to meet current space standards. However, the existing building will be retrofitted and the existing dwellings will benefit from increased thermal efficiency, which will improve the living conditions of the occupiers of these on the whole. All occupiers will also benefit from significant improvements to communal amenity space, including play space provision on the site. So the proposal is therefore supported in terms of quality of accommodation. Moving on to urban design and placemaking. The scale and massing of the proposed development is considered appropriate in the urban context and optimises the development capacity of the site in accordance with policy GG2 of the London Plan. The lower undercroft level currently at the site will be enclosed and make better use of the space available within the site and improve the building's relationship with the surrounding area. Officers are satisfied with the material palette, which includes high quality brickwork and zinc cladding, and this will be secured by planning condition. The reduction of surface level car parking and a new landscaped communal amenity space will improve the overall appearance of the site and contribute to local biodiversity. The proposed design also meets policy D12 of the London Plan in respect of fire, and the new build elements will also comply with secured by design principles, subject to the recommended condition in consultation with Met Police designing out crime officers. So subject to the relevant conditions, the proposal is supported in terms of design. Moving on to neighbouring amenity, the increase in residential units in the upwards extension and new build elements will not result in unacceptable impacts to surrounding occupiers in terms of daylight and sunlight access, overshadowing, loss of privacy, or noise and disturbance. The council's environmental health officers have been consulted and have no objection, subject to conditions requiring details of sound insulation between the existing and proposed residential units and details of mitigation measures for noise, dust, and other construction-related impacts. A construction logistics plan will also be submitted prior to commencement of the development. Subject to the relevant conditions, the proposal is supported in terms of neighbouring amenity. In terms of transport, the site has a PTAL of 3, but is actually adjacent to PTAL 6 areas, so has good connections to sustainable modes of transport and local amenities. There will be an overall reduction in car parking on the site, which is considered a benefit. Currently, there are 13 standard parking spaces and 1 disabled parking space. This will be reduced to 6 spaces overall, and 3 of these spaces will be disabled bays. The reduction in car parking has taken into account the existing parking demands of residents, and there is an identified oversupply. All new dwellings will be car-free, and this will be secured by legal agreement. So that's the ones in the extension and the new build element. Newham transportation officers are satisfied with the reduced on-site parking, which will cater for the existing residents, along with the new dwellings being car-free. A sufficient amount of cycle parking will also be provided for both the new and existing dwellings in the lower ground level, which is where the undercroft currently is, along with visitor cycle parking externally. Public realm improvements will be secured by the legal agreement, and a construction logistics plan will be submitted prior to commencement, as previously mentioned. The proposal is therefore supported in relation to sustainable transport. In respect of waste management, delivering sustainable development, employment, and the impacts to the Epping Forest Special Area of Conservation, the proposal is supported as detailed in pages 92 to 95 of the committee report. Therefore, the Local Development Committee is asked to resolve to agree the reasons for approval as set out in the committee report and the update, and delegate authority to the Director of Planning and Development to grant planning permission subject to the completion of a legal agreement under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990 as amended, based on the heads of terms identified at Appendix 10 of the committee report and the conditions listed in Appendix 9 of the committee report and update report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Molly.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just really, Chair, to put some context to this development. This is part of collaboration with the council, public relations, the residents, and ward council, and it's taken about 3 years to get to where we are tonight. And that's because we've looked at design to make sure we were hitting all the buttons. Whilst this site, the design principles looked at, can we get new affordable homes on the site? How many? And in doing that, how can we address some of the underperformance of the existing building? The existing building is a solid wall construction. It's cold. The building looks tired. The amenity area serving the site is rather sterile. So it was an exercise to look at how can we create new homes on top of the existing property and by a bookend development, and also create a mechanism where we can get the investment to enhance what's there as well. The 12 3-bedroom flats, Holly talked about the mix and the 3-bed mix. One of the key things we want to do with this program is actually how we can actually open up some of that family house, the existing family house, by letting people downsize into the new homes. And there's already 2 residents on that site who will put their hand up to move into the new home, which is the least of the 3-bedroom flats for people on the waiting list. So within the whole sort of concept that we're trying to achieve, it's about the existing resident as much about the new resident. It's not the first scheme I understand, actually in London, where existing residents who aren't getting a homes demolished will have first choice on the new homes as well. We haven't agreed the local land plan, so residents can access it subject to a set criteria. In terms of space standards in the existing homes, I think out of 12 of the homes exceed the current prescribed space standard. So there's spaces affordable homes for rent. I think in terms of climate change, what this development will do, it actually reduce the carbon emissions from the existing building because we're routing it because it's no thermal properties. It'll reduce the carbon emissions by almost half, whilst reducing the running bills, the energy costs for residents by about half of current costs. So there's a lot in this what we're trying to do in terms of new homes, greening, climate change, fewer poverty, enhancing the biodiversity at this time. So it's a big ask, and it's this and the follow-on project at Folkestone are the first two projects where we looked at actually making the best of existing assets and using an innovative way to also get the investment into the existing homes. Yeah. So on that, Chairman, thank you for Holly and all the team, and I just urge you to support the recommendation.
Okay. I'll take questions from the committee now. Are there any forthcoming questions? Councillor Barney.
To me, it's a very unique project. Because I'm glad that it is, staying 100% in perpetuity. And in the London affordable and managed by one of the council's flagship organization in popular housing. Yes. At the same time, what it is proposed here, that the under occupation occupied families, who express their willingness to move to things. I suppose, all of the, the existing ones are 3 bedrooms, 5 are already, owned by the leaseholder people, and with 7 are with the local authority. So I was wondering what will happen to the released 3-bedroom properties, in the downstairs. Will it go back to popular housing or, back to,
No, popular housing is only the development agent for this site. The existing homes are owned by the council, as well as new homes be owned by the council and managed by the council. So that property that's empty will just be refilled by someone of the council doing this.
it will be actually good if these 2 released units, 3-bedroom units, who is the people who where they, move upstairs, also vacant to be in the same management agreement,
Sure, is that something that could be conditioned on your part, or is that something that would?
Well, it's, as I say, we're only developing the site on behalf of the council. The council own the assets.
Yeah.
They're in total control of the assets, both now and post construction. We're just acting as development agents in the favor. What I would say is the existing site is 4 stories with a concrete external stairwell, which you've got people who've been in those properties for 30, 40 years who are getting mobility issues. Whereas a new home, as said, their own mobility standards. Some people follow. And they've got the lift as well, which existing building hasn't got. So in terms of addressing mobility issues, that option to downsize into a new home, which will actually meet their, that's it, later life sort of requirements, is built into the design.
I had 2 questions. One was around the design of the building, and especially the front, which it does stand out. And if you're coming down that particular street, it's probably going to be a very, let's say, an iconic building there that you're walking towards it, and you'll probably see it eye-catching. So, what was the thinking behind that to make it? Is there any structural reason for it? Why it stands out so differently to the rest of the local area?
The existing building or
No,
across the proposal?
Yes, your proposal.
I'll call on that.
Okay, that's fine.
I
I think that the building is, the existing building is fairly run down. Don't get well, has an undercroft, which is being bricked up into surveying behaviour. So using the existing building, we actually quite like the existing building. So we wanted to replicate the existing brick for the new building, the open plan. And then, as you said, it's in a kind of transitional location. You've got Vicarage Lane, which is kind of fairly kind of low scale, but then actually builds up, and the adjacent building is fairly tall. And so the building is a transition between the 2. It steps forward to align with the adjacent building as well. So actually no higher than the adjacent building, and kind of in plan relates to the street style. So that's the logic behind the massing and
I would say, Chair, it's also about transforming the existing. As you don't want to overrate it, but it's time. Yeah, and we're trying to blend the old. We hopefully give something back and try to do much better care of people. give it out and then what's there.
Okay. And can you tell us more about the thermal efficiency to the building? What does that involve? How that, well, the officer did mention it's going to improve the lives of existing residents. How would it do that?
I'm probably this one. I'm probably you.
Sure.
As I say, the existing building is a solid wall construction. So when it's warm, it's very warm. When it's cold, it's cold. And you know, we couldn't actually insulate it because it's solid wall. You can't do it on the inside without taking up floor space. There's also 5 leaseholders in it, so there'd be a legal swamp to get through to try to do it intern. So the only way we think of doing it and doing it effectively was actually putting an external block of the building in order to create that additional insulating material. You can insulate in there within the cladding structure in order to enhance the existing building. We're also going to replace the windows in the existing building to match in with the new and get some uniformity across the old and the new as well. So, and we're looking at a ventilation system for the existing flat as well, because we're all creatures of habit. And because they've lived those flats for 20, 30 years and some longer, you know, I think the response to COVID is shut all the windows, turn off the vents, and make sure no drafts come in. So we're actually going to put a ventilation system, because we're also going to do internal works to those flats as well. The setting and council flat at the moment. We're going to upgrade what's between the boilers internally to those flats. So we should see their energy usage go down by at least a half.
That's what was in the case.
Yes, I did. Thank you, Chair. This may well be down to my total naivety, but I've never seen the transport section set out where there's a monitoring fee of 2,000. Is that something new, or have I never just read that? So page 78, section, it just comes under, it says transport, car free development, car parking free agreement.
£2,000. So that will be in relation, so in terms of any kind of obligation restricting parking permits for the which is proposed for the new residential units. There's a necessary monitoring fee to be attached to the for us to be able to monitor and making sure that that's appropriately managed and enforced. So that's what that fee is.
Thank you. I've never seen that before. So, and then will there be an additional cost for the leaseholders for all this wonderful work that's being done?
No. Well, what they're doing is there's a total investment into this existing building of somewhere in the order of 1.4 million. Some of that's to do with the savings on not having to, the roof as is shot and leak. That needs to be replaced. Going back to 2020 stock condition survey, it is we would spend about £400,000 just on the roof. So you take that out of the equation. And one of the things again was agreed by Cabinet back in 2020 when we started this journey was that leaseholders wouldn't necessarily have to pay for all the works if it's subject to viability. So in this scheme, leaseholders will only be contributing towards the windows.
Yeah, if they want them.
They'll have to have them because of the
Okay.
and all the windows are again real costs that sell by year. They should have been replaced 4 years ago, I think. So again, that's part of the overall, and it's part of the overall customer offer to existing residents that they get all these benefits in return for going through the inconvenience of new building works. Which will be a factor, but as I said consistently with the residents, even if the scheme didn't happen, they still need to replace the roof.
Yeah.
They still need to put out the windows.
Yeah.
And that's what we highly disruptive during that area. What we're looking at as well is we're exploring modern methods of construction in order to mitigate the time that the contractors are on site. You know, so that's been a key part of design element as well. Like we design something which we could turn to NNC if that's the right solution.
And this one, as I touch on the design elements of it. And 3-bedroom homes. It's 18 units. In terms of your speculations or in terms of your planning around it, were there no I guess facilities or arrangements that could have fitted 1 or 2 3-bedroom homes?
Yeah. We looked at that and we set it out at the outset because you're stacking flats on top of it, you're going to be constrained by what's below in terms of the design of stacking properties. We did say in the original cabinet paper back in 2020 that it's highly likely that the majority of homes created out of building on top of existing assets would be 1 or 2 bedroom properties. Because we're dealing with a very constrained footprint to work with. And in terms of the envelope, again, it's quite constrained. So the balance is was all the homes have been designed to ensure that we not just hit prescribed national space standards, but also to comply with new affordable housing design guidelines. So getting those movement areas and circulation within the flat is really important. And once we looked at 3-bed, it could become extremely difficult and would come to the expense of losing a number of the affordable homes. I think with all these projects, you know, I look at suitability, feasibility, and acceptability. It's suitable, but it wasn't necessarily feasible. And the design of the homes and the mix of homes that we've got here has again gone through that collaboration process with the housing team. You know, because there is 12 3-bedroom flats. I think there's a big issue about the child density ratios you could end up with. And then how do you manage that? But these are all affordable homes. Looking at the future. And it was agreed in terms of mixed repair was the best that we could get out of this site in terms of optimizing the number of affordable homes and ensuring that the homes we created met all of the design standards of the kinds of home design. I don't know if you want to say anything.
No, that's what you said over there, actually.
Okay, and so that's could be.
You talk about suitability here. And on that, I don't understand it when you say contribution towards carbon offset 15,905. How does that work with affordability?
That's the planning contribution and offset. Planning policy, it's supposed to be paid. We'd like to not pay it, but there we go. We've done a lot most to create as highly energy efficient as we have on site. All the new homes using our source heat pumps. You know, the reason being is we need to achieve the fabric performance through the new structure. But over and above that, the offset in terms of carbon zero, it's what goes with the offer in terms of the amount of carbon pay.
Look, my thinking now is that the existing residents now, who are going to benefit from that, if they don't have that money coming from their pocket, what's going to happen?
The residents aren't paying at the start. We understand that the residents won't be paying. We as the development agent will be paying to the GLA area risk that it collects it.
It's going to reflect on the
No, it doesn't reflect on the residents.
My final question is around the employment. It's in the heads of terms. It does say analogously local labour. However, I think in any committee we'd like to get some of our residents there, apprenticeships, possibly foremen. Is that within scope within your project?
It will be when we get that. Okay. We need planning consent first.
Twisting my arm.
No, but the beauty of these sites, you're working with residents on site. There's opportunity for residents to come forward, and it's kind of encouraging to get local people living in the flats to involved in the construction and somewhere wrong.
Not the same, not technically the same thing.
Yeah,
but yes. So I think you see, not just low skilled jobs for our residents, you know, people might have misconception that Newmarket has low skilled people, there's a lot of educated people who are working in construction. My ask is that 35% be even distributed across apprenticeships, across those who might have those skills, and across those who actually are skilled and can work in the site, as it is a landmark scheme that is popular. The council's own.
Absolutely,
provider.
you know, popular will have it within their objective to optimize it. Someone who's done nice and best practice for training young people, not just in bricks and mortar, but in the professional back office. Yes, like, there's real opportunity here. We have made connections with the academy across the road to talk about getting people into training, but we contact right across Europe in terms of local groups of how we can get them involved in a discussion about how we can turn this local labour to come together, loose term, into creating sort of real.
That's good to hear, because there is a college behind the focus on vocational skills, so having that dialogue early at least. Before planning permission is or is not given, is quite helpful. Yeah, okay. Any further questions?
We want one object, very concerned about the privacy when the building is and noise disturbance in the construction. So what's the mechanism for ensure the surrounding people's privacy?
Well, again, that would be in the construction plan. During the day, they're actually how you control and manage noise construction during that period. I think in terms of the neighbourly objective, it's more to do potentially by the right. A gloss of privilege like which we have looked at, and we don't think there's an issue from the survey we have done. But the nuisance factor, you know, we do a lot more to mitigate what we can. There'll always be those. It will be a construction day for a period of time. And our existing residents understanding would be the first that we need to ensure that their use of their homes, because they're staying in the property still in the construction, will be protected.
I think that's in terms of lack of demolition, because there is no demolition. Apart from looking at the roof, there is no dust collected. That element is something that's
okay. Councillor Rose.
Yeah, a couple of things. I really welcome the addition of a play space. It's really important, even though they are quite near to local parks. Can I be assured that the play spaces are fully accessible? So for any child with an additional need. And then my other question to that is, can we please be assured that it will be properly maintained? And because very often these wonderful spaces just get, you know, they just get left. And then my third question is, when you are we going to get rid of, and I can only show it on the picture because I don't know what they're called, because that I know from casework attracts quite a lot of antisocial behaviour.
Yeah.
So for those people who are, I'm looking at those that are called an undercroft. Wow.
I learned.
But
the undercroft is currently, it's been blocked.
Oh, right, okay.
I think that's what about probably.
Yes.
And we're using that undercroft area for plant recycle area and whatnot, so it'll be accessible for residents.
Okay.
And that would have some of that unsavory activity that can take place in those areas. On your first one about accessibility, absolutely. In terms of maintenance, we have shared the plan with the councils and parks team.
Okay.
And got their observation and comments on what we were designing to make sure. Because a lot of these schemes become designed so somebody can jump off the back of a lawn or run by and disappear in 5 minutes. So we were very mindful of that in the discussion with the parks team, that they were comfortable with what we were designing.
Dr. Rosie, that's fine.
That's fine. Thank you, Chair.
Last questions. No, okay, we will move now to the recommendations. So the local development committee is asked to resolve to agree the reasons for approval of having this report and update to the board and delegate authority to the director of planning and development plan commission subject to the completion of a legal agreement with the section one associated with town planning. All members who agree, please show of hands. That's unanimous and that is duly approved. Okay, thank you. We now move to item 8, which is land at 67 to 113, the votes in the lower.
Right, I'll just check that you can hear me again. I think you should still be able to. Okay. I think that's sharing as well. Thank you, Chair. I will also be presenting item 8, which is the full planning application at land at 67 to 113 Folkestone Road in East Ham.
There are presentation, sorry, I can't see it.
Oh, that's weird. If I stop sharing and reshare, maybe that will fix the problem. Right, how's that now?
That's fine.
Okay, cool. I'll pick up where I left off then. So I'll be presenting item 8, which is the full planning application at land at 67 to 113 Folkestone Road, East Ham. The application site is on the east side of Folkestone Road in East Ham and is comprised of an existing 3-storey block of flats with a flat roof. There are 24 existing flats in the building with 8 flats per floor. The flats are a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom homes and are accessed from 3 staircores to the rear of the building. The site also includes areas of soft landscaping and a residence car park. The surrounding area is predominantly residential. On the same side of Folkestone Road, you can see there are semi-detached houses to the north and south of the site. Immediately to the west is characterised by blocks of flats, which raise to about 4 to 5 stories in height. Further west, the area is characterised by rows of terraced housing. Immediately behind the site, so to the east, there are allotments and Newham Council's depot, which is then bound by Newham Way. The site is not in a conservation area and doesn't affect the setting of any heritage assets. And vehicle access and pedestrian access. And these are some photos of the site, but to the rear of the building where the car park is. So the application is for full planning permission for the proposed construction of a 1-storey upward extension to expand the existing building to form 8 new dwellings consisting of 6 2-bedroom units and 2 1-bedroom units with associated landscaping and cycle parking. This plan shows the general arrangement of the site, including the building envelope, the landscaping scheme, and the car parking. And this is visualizations of the upwards extension. So this will be viewed from the opposite side of Folkestone Road. And here are some more 3Ds. So there's one showing the sort of entirety of the site and the whole extension, and another one from the same side of Folkestone Road. And this is the proposed internal layout of the upwards extension. So you can see the 8 flats being provided there. The proposal is for residential redevelopment of the site, including the retention of the existing dwellings and an additional 8 dwellings being provided within the upward extension. Along with the construction of the new dwellings, the proposal includes works to the existing building that will improve the quality of the flats. Both the London Plan and local plan outline the need for more homes, and the redevelopment of the site will positively contribute to the borough's housing stock, noting the demand for increased housing. The new dwellings will be 100% affordable, so will also help address the council's waiting list. Therefore, the principle of providing new affordable housing and improving the quality of the existing flats is supported. So in terms of the housing offer, the proposed development would provide 2 new 1-bedroom units and 6 new 2-bedroom units. The proposal will not provide any 3-bedroom family-sized units. The proposal doesn't deliver 10 or more units, so it actually falls outside the requirement to provide a minimum of 39% family-sized homes. However, Policy H1 does seek to achieve an appropriate mix of housing sizes, so including some 3 beds. So officers have carefully reviewed the proposal to ascertain whether 3-bedroom units, new 3-bedroom units could be provided. So while efforts could have been made to amend the mix of units and reduce the overall amount. However, the proposal utilises the existing stacking arrangements and siting of stair cores in the building to ensure that rooms are appropriately stacked on top of each other so they minimise disruption between the occupiers. So similar to the previous application we saw. Creating additional built form is not a viable option for this site either, as the upwards extension is considered to optimise the development capacity of the site in the local context, and any further increase is unlikely to be acceptable from a design and neighbouring amenity perspective. Again, given the minor scale of development, there is no explicit policy requirement to provide affordable housing either. However, the applicant is London Borough of Newham and Populo, and the proposal is specifically for 100% London affordable rent homes intended for households on the council's waiting list. The provision of these affordable homes is a public benefit in the scheme and is therefore a key consideration in the overall planning balance to allow the proposed housing mix and helps compensate for the lack of any family-sized housing being provided. As such, the affordable housing provision shall be secured by legal agreement and taking into account the site-specific constraints and affordable housing provision. The lack of any new family-sized units is justified, and on the whole, the housing offer is considered acceptable. In terms of the quality of accommodation, all new dwellings will meet the current space standards and will be provided with private amenity space. They'll be at least dual aspect, have satisfactory ceiling heights and efficient internal layouts. Given the site constraints mentioned, it has not been possible to refurbish the layouts of existing dwellings to meet current space standards. However, the existing building will benefit from retrofit works and the new dwellings will benefit from increased thermal efficiency, which will improve the living conditions of occupiers on the whole. All occupiers will benefit from significant improvements to communal amenity space as well. The proposal is therefore supported in terms of quality of accommodation. The modest uplift in scale and proposed density of the site will successfully relate to the surrounding local context. The proposed zinc cladding deviates from the existing material palette of the building. However, the materiality and design of the existing building is not considered to be of a particularly high quality that must be replicated in this instance. The contrast in materials will add some visual interest to the area and will also allow for a better standard of homes to be achieved internally in line with current standards. London Borough of Newham urban design officers have also been consulted and have been involved since pre-application stage and support the design subject to conditions including the submission of material details. Landscaping works to the rear of the building will also improve the overall appearance of the site and contribute to biodiversity. The landscaping scheme will be secured by planning condition. Subject to the relevant conditions, the proposed development is supported in terms of design. Officers have also assessed the proposal's impact to neighbouring amenity, including the existing dwellings on the site and in the surrounding area. The increase in residential units through the upwards extension of the site is not considered to result in unacceptable impacts to surrounding occupiers in terms of daylight and sunlight access, overshadowing, loss of privacy, or noise and disturbance. The council's environmental health officers were consulted on the application and have no objection to the scheme subject to conditions requiring details of sound insulation between the existing and proposed units, as well as mitigation measures specified in the submitted noise impact assessment. Details of how noise, dust, and any other construction-related impacts will be mitigated will also be required by planning condition. So the proposed development is supported in relation to neighbouring amenity impacts, subject to the recommended conditions. Moving on to transport, the application site has a PTAL 1B, meaning poor connection to sustainable transport modes generally. However, there are 2 bus stops adjacent to the site, served by the number 300 bus every 15 to 20 minutes. The proposal doesn't seek to increase the number of car parking spaces at the site. However, all the new units will be car-free, and this will be secured by legal agreement. London Borough of Newham transportation officers have reviewed the arrangements and considered them to be acceptable, subject to the legal agreement and conditions. A sufficient amount of cycle parking will be provided for the new dwellings, and a construction logistics plan will also be submitted prior to commencement. And this will be approved by the LPA in consultation with highways officers as well. The proposed development is therefore acceptable in relation to sustainable transport, subject to conditions. In respect of waste management, sustainable development and flood risk, the proposal is supported as detailed through pages 134 to 136 of the committee report. Therefore, the Local Development Committee is asked to resolve to agree the reasons for approval as set out in the committee report and delegate authority to the Director of Planning and Development to grant planning permission subject to the completion of a legal agreement under Section 106 of the Town and Country Planning Act 1990 as amended, based on the heads of terms identified at Appendix 9 of the committee report and the conditions listed in Appendix 8 of the committee report. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you, Chair. Very much the same scale as the last project. This is the second of the program of Earth-based project that we're looking to deliver locally. Again, same principle, 100% affordable rent. Council on building both existing and the new homes. We're on here as the development agent facilitating the scheme on behalf of the council. As I say, 8 homes in terms of why no 3 beds, we'll just follow the existing footprint of what's below in order to have efficient and efficient design construction. So with 6 2-beds and sitting on top of 6 2-bedrooms. We have a couple of 3 beds below, but when we lose space on the footprint to accommodate what we want to achieve, all of the existing 6 or 8 homes all exceed the prescribed space down by around 10%. So there are very spacious homes that we're creating in this scheme. Same thing in terms of huge sort of endeavor to make sure existing residents get a real benefit of this project. We're insulating the existing walls within the scheme. We're putting in new windows, and the biggest factor for loss of heat in that existing building is a roof which is shot and we replace it at any rate. So it was one of the key reasons why we stuck at this site was the investment needs and how we can achieve that through the creation of new homes and also additional investment works into the existing building. Again, like St. Matthew's Court, existing residents, we have got a local evidence plan agreed by the council, and they will have first choice of new homes as well. We're releasing any problems time.
Probably similar questions, but employment again, I think it's very important. Same thing, and I think it's very important that we try to get our residents into these opportunity of our jobs as possible. Any questions?
About the cap-free back, because I'm saying this because I have somebody who can like surgery, and this is the house of living by the council, and people are not meant to use car, and eventually they got a car, and it becomes a problem.
Well, it will be a problem. It's a problem in every new scheme across the borough of how you police that impact. Because you get all these people who were primaries, but you had that in all the existing scheme anyway. You have got an existing scheme. I think what many car parking spaces you got here? 10. The 10 car parking spaces, and you have currently 24 flats. So you do have those issues as it is. And I think if you ask any of your housing officers, one of the biggest aim in terms of the day job is managing cars as opposed to people. You know, and I also myself, I've spent 30 years working with affordable housing creators. I just wish that rather than making much noise about the quality of their homes, let's do a bit of car parking spaces. You know, because it's, it's absolutely, you know, criminal what happens to car parking, but if we're going to achieve the zero carbon world that we want to live in, then the car's got to pay the price.
But this isn't the car free development, is it?
It's, the new homes will be car free.
All right, okay. So there won't be a fight then.
There's still
Yeah, well, of course there'll be a fight, yeah.
There will be a fun fight,
Yeah.
there will be a bit of.
And maybe what we should be doing as a local authority then, through housing, is actually managing that car park. So that actually only the people who are entitled to park there, because I'm assuming that everyone who lives there currently could park there if they so choose.
Absolutely, there's
Yeah.
there's no other gift.
No, okay.
But
They could also apply for a resident parking permit for the street,
they could do, and that's.
but they don't.
But that's what everyone's offering, enabling development across New.
No, not the car free ones, they can't.
Well, no, it's not the existing business.
Oh, yeah.
And as the developer, which is by extension the council and Popular, is that something that can be policed and enforced?
It's certainly, when you've got stock that we manage and we have got the same reasons, yes, you have to police it. It's very resource intensive. If we spend as much time managing our properties, you have less issues overall, but that's the price of tomorrow's world. And where we want to go to in terms of zero carbon.
No more, it's, yeah.
No questions? Okay, let's move to recommendation signal scheme, but different location.
So very welcome.
So the committee are asked to resolve to agree the reasons for approval as set out in the report and delegate authority to the Director of Planning and Development to grant planning permission to subject to completion of a legal agreement under section 106 of the Town Plan Act 1990. All those in favour, please show of hands. That is unanimous for all those approved.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 9 was deferred and we move to item 10.
I didn't quite hear you.
It was an explanation.
All right,
in the update report.
I'll read it then.
Yeah. I think it's on the
Yeah,
last page.
I'm just being lazy.
Never does.
Yeah, can I just ask if you can hear me?
Yeah, maybe speak up just a bit muffled.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, it's slightly better.
Yeah, okay. So good evening, members. So item 10 relates to a retrospective planning scheme located at number 9. Along with the committee report, please also refer to the update report, which highlights the need for cycle storage condition to be completed within 3 months of planning permission being granted instead of 6 months. The application site is located next to the London Industrial Park and within an existing industrial site. This site also forms part of the Beckton Strategic Industrial Location Zone. The neighbouring buildings are industrial and commercial. This application seeks retrospective planning consent for the construction of 2 temporary storage tents that have been placed next to each other on a vacant hard standing area at Britvic Storage Facility site in Beckton. The temporary storage tents are expected to be held on site for a total period of 3 years while refurbishment works take place. There have been no objections towards this proposal. This image shows the aerial site plan for the site. The blue line highlights the overall site ownership boundary, and the red line shows the area covered by the temporary storage tents. This slide shows previous photos of the site. This slide also shows previous photos of the site from different views. And this is the last slide of previous site photos. So here are some photos of the short-term storage tents, which are currently on site. And here are more photos of the current short-term storage tents. The key considerations for this application are the principle of development, the urban design and placemaking, and the sustainable transport. All other considerations, such as the impacts to neighbouring amenity and delivering sustainable development, will remain unaffected by the proposal. This planning application has been submitted to support Britvic's extensive long-term plans and operational requirements. The applicant has considered the temporary storage tents to be key enablers for the Beckton site because the temporary storage tents will contribute to the site's expansion, along with enabling repair and retrofit works to take place to the existing warehouses. Therefore, the principle of development is supported. The temporary storage tents cover a total area of 3,887 square meters and have a similar scale to the existing buildings on the site. The temporary storage tents contain the following measurements displayed on the screen. Lightweight materials have been used to create the storage tents. The walls contain a profiled cladding sheet and the roof contains a lightweight double-skin PVC material. The doors are steel roller shutter doors. The industrial design and scale of the temporary storage tents are in keeping with the local area, and the lightweight materials are easy to remove. The LBN Urban Design Officer stated the temporary storage tents are not considered to be harmful to visual amenity. As such, the scheme is supported with regard to design. The current car and cycle parking measures are similar to the previous parking arrangements, and the transport assessment indicated there would be no adverse impact in relation to traffic. The LBN Transportation Officer had concerns over the cycle parking and shift time changes. These concerns were addressed by the applicant. As such, the officer had no objections to the retrospective proposal. However, the officer requested for the cycle storage to be conditioned, so additional details could be provided. Therefore, the proposal is supported in relation to sustainable transport. The following considerations, impacts to neighbouring amenity and delivering sustainable development, have been assessed and will not be affected by the proposal. With respect to the above matters, this retrospective proposal is supported. The Local Development Committee is asked to resolve to 1. Agree the reasons for approval as set out in the committee report and the update report, and 2. Grant planning permission subject to the conditions listed in Appendix 8 of the committee report and the update report.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the committee?
No, well, it's only to be.
Okay, so I think we'll take this as read and move straight to recommendations. The local development committee is asked to resolve to read the reasons for approval set out in the committee report and the update report. 2. Grant plan permission subject to the conditions listed in Appendix 8 of the committee report and the update report. For approval, please show of hands. And that's unanimous. All members in the room for approval. So it's granted. Final item of the night, which is the date of the next meeting, which is the 26th of February 2024. Call that meeting closed. Thank you.
Beginning to get a bit warm in now, Shirley.
With the ventilation.
In the fridge. I'm freezing. I had a cabinet in the chamber. And I came out, my hands were blue.
I say,